Protesters in Thailand have continued their demonstrations in the capital Bangkok in defiance of a state of emergency declared by the government. Dozens stormed the Interior Ministry, attacking a motorcade that they thought was carrying the Prime Minister, Abhisit Vejjajiva. Elsewhere in the city, protesters took over 2 army vehicles. As Jonathan Head now reports from Bangkok, the Prime Minister has threatened to use force to end the demonstrations.
The state of emergency is in place, but they're still struggling to impose order in Thailand's capital. These are anti-government protesters at the Interior Ministry today, and they think Prime Minister Abhisit Vejjajiva is inside this car. Luckily for him, he wasn't. It took a series of shots fired into the air to disperse them. Mr. Abhisit was inside, announcing the state of emergency on nationwide television. I've done this to bring the situation back to normal as soon as possible, he said. In theory, the army is now in charge of restoring law and order. But they were making heavy weather of the task here, outside one of Bangkok's big shopping malls. The protesters were clearly running the show. Elsewhere, though, the army is moving into position, preparing, perhaps, to sweep the protesters off the streets. If they do, it'll be the first military action here since the coup 2.5 years ago, and it would certainly risk bloodshed. For now, the protesters remain defiant, still calling for the resignation of a Prime Minister they've already humiliated. But with emergency rule in place, the tide could soon turn against them. Jonathan Head, BBC News, Bangkok.
Well, another of our correspondents in Bangkok is Alistair Leithhead. He's been with the protesters in the central area of Bangkok.
Well, the red shirts in the middle of Bangkok have pretty much sealed off all entrances to Government House. You can see there's a meeting going on here at the moment, just in the street. I think they're trying to work out what's happening with regard to the military, the security forces here, how they're going to react, because just down this road behind here, 200 metres away, is Government House. There's a big stage set up. It's been there for 2 weeks now. It's where the protests were a few days ago, and it's where the focus of the Reds demonstrations are now placed. As we've come into this area, we've seen the traffic, and you can see how the taxis have been parked up here. They've taken over buses, as I say, and trucks. They've blocked the roads. And what they've done is that they've all congregated in this area, and they're trying, I think, to set up to prevent the security forces from coming in and from getting access. If, say, the military wants to wrestle control back of Government House to disperse the people, they will have to come through these cordons first. And they're very organised in the way they're doing things. I think possibly that meeting is to decide what they do, even when the military arrive. Some people do have sticks. They're keeping them hidden. There's people sitting on them there. There are sticks here. They are prepared, I think, to have a confrontation if that's what the military want to do. And it puts the Prime Minister in a very difficult position. He's already hugely embarrassed and stinging from what happened in Pattaya at the Asian conference of ASEAN leaders yesterday, and that had to be abandoned. And now, of course, his decision is, does he try and break up this demonstration, or does he allow it to go on, as, of course, the yellow shirt protests did last year? They were allowed to basically cause political change. So the stakes are very high for the Prime Minister and for the people, who are pretty determined and are pretty prepared to face whatever the government and the authorities are prepared to throw at them.